Uh, it occurred to me we didn't really talk about some of the specifics of a chassis build, not just this one in particular, but chassis build in general. And this video, I guess, is going to end up being two parts. Maybe it's part one and part two of the build, because I got some other things I think we need to talk about, or I think need to be discussed. If you're building a chassis, buying a chassis, or you're talking to a builder about building a chassis, these are some things you need to know. What are you using the chassis for? Is it going to be a trail wheeler? Is it going to be a specific extreme rock crawler? Is it going to be a competition crawler? Is it going to be a crossover? So you're going to go real slow on the trails, so you need it to be super capable on the trails, but you also want to be able to go fast through the desert. These are all things you need to know. What do you plan on doing with the chassis, with the build? The other thing you want to know is what size tires are you going to run? Most guys are running 40-inch plus. This particular chassis is going to be running a 37, because in a 4800 class, the max size tire is a 37-inch DOT tire. However, I'm going to build it to where it can fit 40s, because if I end up with this chassis, I'm not going to be racing it, most likely. Well, never say never. Anyway, so those are some things you need to know. What are you building the chassis for? What is the purpose of the build? Who is it for? Are you a bigger guy? Are you a smaller guy? Are you a taller guy? Are you a wider guy? All these things you need to know. The reason being is because you need to know what your cab width is going to be. Obviously, for a bigger guy, you need a wider cab. If you're wider, you need a wider cab. You want comfort. If you're going to be wheeling this thing on the trail and you're sitting in it the majority of the day, comfort is key. It's like you want to be sitting in your rocking chair all day. This particular chassis, because it's a race style chassis, is going to be no frills. It's going to have comfort, but it's not going to have all the creature comforts of a trail wheeler, like a center console and all this other stuff with cup holders. Race chassis. So the width here, on center, overall width 54 inches. On a trail buggy, overall width 58 inches. Some of the race chassis out there, some of the race cars out there are narrower. I need to find a compromise because I'm a bigger guy. A lot of race car drivers are tiny. I'm not tiny. So 54 here. The other thing is your height. You need to know that you're going to be able to fit in there safely with clearance above your helmet or your noggin, so you don't hit your head on the roll cage. So these are things that you need to consider and discuss before building a chassis, when talking to your chassis builder, or before buying a chassis. This particular chassis, wheelbase, running 37s, you could probably get away with 114-inch wheelbase. That's the narrowest or the shortest I would go with this chassis. Other chassis out there are built for a shorter wheelbase. This one is not. 114 at the shortest. I'm going to try to build this at 117. And why is that? Because I want to be able to fit 40s. If this thing is narrowed up, imagine I got a big 40-inch tire here, I'm turning and I'm fully stuffed on this side, I'm going to be running into this rocker rail if it's anything shorter than 117. 117 is going to do just fine for me And the rocks is going to do excellent. It's probably the bare minimum. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know that to be true. 117 is going to be real comfortable. You probably want to go longer for go fast in the desert, but 117 is going to be a compromise between rocks and go fast with a 40-inch tire. So a lot of guys are on a budget. You know, I can't afford to buy, or I've already got 40-inch tires or BFG 39s, red labels. But in the future, I might have more money. Everybody wants to have more money in the future. In the future, you might want to have a 42-inch tire. Well, you need to make sure that you account for that when you design your chassis, build your chassis, buy your chassis. Anyway, 40-inch tire. Are you going to go to a longer or a taller tire, bigger tire? Everybody ends up going, you know, later on in your rock crawling endeavors, everybody's running a bigger tire, so you feel like you need to get into a bigger tire too. Do you have allowance, clearance in your build to fit that size tire? That's something that you need to be aware of. Think ahead, think 5 steps ahead in any type of situation like this. That's always the challenge. You need to think 5 steps ahead in your build to where you want to be, because actions right now in the base or the foundation of the chassis, you might not see the cause and effect of that until 5 steps down the road. And if you didn't think of that, you're having to go back and redo what you already did. And that's the constant battle in doing anything like this. So I think I covered what I wanted to cover in that little blip. But these are some of the things that you need to think about and know when you're going to build a chassis, buy a chassis, have somebody build a chassis for you. Have this already figured out so you know what you're looking at. You can plan ahead a little bit. You know what you're buying. You know what it'll support. I have people call me and say, well, can you build me a chassis? Yeah, I can. But you know what? Half the time, the conversation is, well, what are you doing? Where do you have your radiator? Do you already have parts? What are you trying to run? What size tires do you have? What axles do you have? What do you want your suspension travel to be? What do you want your belly height to be? What do you want your wheelbase to be? There's all these things that you need to know. What are you doing with the chassis? Who's going to be in it with you? How big a guy are you? All these things you need to know before you buy or build or have somebody build a chassis. Very important stuff to think about. So anyway, hopefully that covers that. Then we'll proceed to our regularly scheduled program here. Okay, yeah. So I got to do this. Hopefully you can see this. If you guys like these videos, if you like the video series, if you want to support the channel, more or less actually support the website, tac1fab.com. You can get on there. You can buy these sweatshirts. Sweatshirts got a big TAC1Fab logo on the front. You can get them in multiple sizes. They are a print-on-demand service, so it takes a little while for you to get yours, but that keeps me from having to handle inventory and make sure I have every size and color in stock. So that's on the sweatshirts. I also have the hats. The hats have the TAC1Fab helmet logo embroidered on them. They're the Richardson 112 series hats. I really like the Richardson brand hat. I like the way it looks. You can't really see that in this video. I'll throw a screenshot up there on the video so you can see what the hat actually looks like up close. And then also I just finished the design on the new TAC1Fab t-shirts. And the new TAC1Fab t-shirts, I'll throw a picture up right now. On the front they have the TAC1Fab logo. On the back they have a drawing of the TAC1Fab Stryker chassis on them. So anyway, if you want to support me, support the channel, support the website. Basically, I don't make barely any money off this swag, but what it does is it helps support that monthly payment to keep the website up and going. All right, thanks.